Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a massive fan of all things movies and music and pop culture. I'm also a massive collector, and today I wanted to talk about all of the movies that I watched in the month of October. So here's a stack of some of the movies that I watched that have come from my collection, but I have my list over here. So according to my list, I watched 14 movies in the month of October. 3 I had never seen before, and 5 I saw in the cinema. I usually end up watching so many movies in October because of Halloween and because of my love of like horror movies and spooky movies and all of that. This whole month just kind of flew and it was just so busy, like in a good way. So whenever I could try to fit in watching movies, I did. And I also got to go to the cinema a few times, which I haven't done in a minute. So that made me really happy. And yeah, I watched some really good movies this month. So the first movie I watched in October was Rosemary's Baby because I wanted to start off the Halloween vibes really strongly, and this one always does it for me. I've seen this movie many times now in the last 5 years since the first time I watched it, and firstly I just think it's stunning. Secondly, I think that Mia Farrow's performance is amazing. The intense paranoia and anxiety I get while watching this movie never goes away. It's one of these movies that, you can take so much of it as symbolism for this, that, the other. It's really worth watching if you love horror that's pretty, that's interesting, that's got such a deep meaning to it as well. It's not just surface level at all, and every time I watch this movie I find something else that's like interesting or that I missed another time. This movie is also based on a book. It is a novel that I am intrigued to read, but at the same time, just in knowing what this movie is about and having experienced it so many times, I don't know that I want to entertain that sort of negativity. But at the same time, I'm really intrigued because there's just so much happening in this movie. Maybe I'll give a quick rundown. In essence, long story short, Rosemary's Baby is about like a young couple that are moving into a new apartment in the city. Rosemary's husband is an aspiring actor and he's getting like bit parts here and there, but it's kind of like a struggle, and they just end up in this situation where they're living in this new place and they meet a couple and they befriend them, and weird things start to happen, and naturally as well she becomes pregnant, and that is a whole situation that occurs. And that is all I'm going to say, other than you should definitely watch this movie. I think it's one of the all-time greats in horror. The second movie I watched is Child's Play from 1988, which is a fun horror comedy situation. I'm always proud of me whenever I put anything related to Chucky on, just because as a kid, he was my worst nightmare. As a kid, I would like walk past these DVDs all the time and see his little face with a knife or whatever he was holding, and it would fuel my nightmares for years and years. And then a few years ago I was like, no, I need to watch these because they seem funny. I don't think it's that deep. And so I did, and I've seen Child's Play a few times. Then there's Child's Play 2 I've seen, and Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, which I enjoy all of them. I think they're so funny. I also didn't realize there's like a Child's Play 3, so I've like completely missed like that middle gap, so I need to like find it and catch up on it. But yeah, if you haven't seen Child's Play, it's just this like dark comedy about how this woman buys her son a doll that he really wants for his birthday, and they don't know that the spirit of a serial killer has gone into this doll, hence why he's like alive and crazy and does crazy things and says crazy things. And that whole setup just leads the way for so many hilarious things to happen within like the horror genre, and that continues all the way through the series, and they're so much fun. Number 3 was a movie that I was really excited to see in the cinema and I've been waiting for to come out, and that movie is One Battle After Another. So I'm a big fan of Paul Thomas Anderson. I've not seen all of his work yet. I own majority majority of it, but I've seen things like Boogie Nights was the first one I watched. I've seen The Master. I've seen Inherent Vice, Punch Drunk Love, and I own Phantom Thread. I really need to watch Phantom Thread, and Magnolia as well. And I need to get Hard Eight. I'm missing that one. But, oh, and Licorice Pizza I love as well. Yeah, Licorice Pizza I saw in the cinema. I loved that too. I was really excited for this one because, again, I'm a massive fan of Paul Thomas Anderson's work, and I'm a massive fan of Leonardo DiCaprio's work as well. And I knew nothing about this movie going into it. I remember the set photos coming out and I never looked into it. I don't like to see stuff like that. That's gonna spoil movies for me. I didn't even watch trailers for the movie. I really went in just trusting these professionals and I love this movie. I thought it was a masterpiece. I thought it was hilarious and it was so interesting. All the performances, and Sean Penn was amazing, and just, yeah, everything about it was so cool. Plus, having Dirty Work by Steely Dan in any movie always just like makes me locked in. I think it's in American Hustle, and that was my introduction to it, and then it's in The Sopranos as well, and I was like, hey, and then it was in this movie and I was like, so yeah, I really loved One Battle After Another. I'm keen to buy that when that comes out and add it to my collection. Number 4 was another highly anticipated watch for me, just because the first movie is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is Spinal Tap 2: The End Continues. The original Spinal Tap movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of those movies that I watched when I was like 15 or 16 and it was so formative for me. It's another movie that I used to watch every night before going to sleep just because it would make me laugh and it would entertain me, and like it was my introduction to Christopher Guest's work. From that, I remember loving and watching and buying Waiting for Guffman, which I think is an underrated one because I think a lot of the time people go to like Best in Show as, you know, the next go-to movie after Spinal Tap, but for me, Waiting for Guffman is so funny. It's one of the like most underrated comedies to me. I think everyone needs to watch it. And this is Spinal Tap. I was so excited for this movie. It's also directed by Rob Reiner, who directed the original, and obviously Rob Reiner's directed, you know, heaps of stuff like Stand By Me and When Harry Met Sally and stuff like that. This movie was so fun. It just got to the point. It knew what people wanted to hear. I'm one of those people that bought the Spinal Tap soundtrack and knows all the words and loves the songs, and the jokes in the movie were like great throwbacks to the original, and it also had, you know, modern things in it. Naturally, it's set now, but also two of my other favorite people popped up in it, Paul McCartney and Elton John. And I remember seeing like the first like sneak peek clip of like Elton John singing Stonehenge. I like lost my mind. I think I cried. I was that level of excited. I can see myself rewatching Spinal Tap 2, you know, as a sequel. Sometimes a bit apprehensive, but I really, really enjoyed it. And the cinema was laughing and people were happy watching it, and that makes me happy. Number 5 on my list, we're back to horror. Number 5 is Poltergeist from 1982, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Not just one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So I first watched this movie when I was about 14 and getting into horror and stuff, and this movie freaked me out. It is a Tobe Hooper movie who directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's a Steven Spielberg production. And to me, so much of this movie reminds me of like E.T. It's got that Spielberg vibe to it. Like you can tell he's within this, you know, in any capacity, and I love that. I love the score of this movie. I love these characters. They're characters that I like root for every time, and I enjoy seeing them on screen. And again, I've seen this movie so many times, and the second one I love. I need to own the second one. The second one really freaks me out as well. This movie really freaks me out. There are certain things in it that have stuck with me forever. This movie also has a lot of like sad lore surrounding it. I don't really want to talk about it just because it's like, it's kind of scary and sad. I feel like it's an underrated and overlooked horror movie, especially like if you look at horror movies from the 80s, because there are so many classic ones that came out of that time period. I feel like Poltergeist sometimes is left out of the equation, and I'm a massive advocate in bringing it back into the forefront of people's minds. Yeah, this movie to me is fantastic, and it's also just so stunning to look at. Again, so many of these movies from the 80s are just so pretty to sit through. Number 6 is one of my favorite movies to come out last year, and that is Longlegs. Longlegs I saw in the cinema last year, and it affected me in a way that horror movies haven't affected me in a long time. When I first got into horror movies, I used to be really scared to like do anything by myself, and after I saw Longlegs, I felt the same way, where I was like, I don't want to go into this room by myself. I don't want to go up the stairs by myself in the dark because he might be in the corner. Like that level of like scared. I think this was like my 3rd time watching it because I showed it to some people last year and all of that. When I was watching it by myself, I freaked myself out because there's a few shots in there. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, like with the eyes and like hooded faces and stuff. And Nicolas Cage gives like fantastic performance. He's one of my favorite actors. I would love to say I've watched majority of his filmography because I have seen so much of it and own so much of it, but at the same time he releases movies like every 2 seconds, and so I'm just always in the process of trying to keep up to what he's doing. But in this one, he's so scary, and the opening shot of this movie alone just like full stuck with me from the first time I saw it. I can like still see it now, and that music and that vibe is just like you're just locked in straight away. And that's what I want in a horror movie. I want to be fully immersed, I want to be freaked out, and I want it to sit with me for a while. And this movie did. I remember last year I was like almost like fixated on it because I was like, oh my gosh, and this bit and this bit and this bit. Like I love that in horror. So Longlegs, if you missed it last year, you should watch it just to freak yourself out a little bit. Number 7 is Scary Movie, a classic within comedy horror, and I'd say comedy in general at this point. Like so many people quote Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2. I've seen the first 2 so many times, just like over and over again. I think I end up watching this like yearly. But what I love about Scary Movie is that the more that you delve into horror, the more you see other little horror references within Scary Movie. Like I feel like I saw Scary Movie before I ever saw Scream. The first Scary Movie kind of follows the storyline of Scream and like mocking that. It obviously has references to like different movies within it, and it's so fun, and there's the one-liners and there's the jokes that are just so quotable, and you always just go back to them, and so it's just easy to watch and it's a fun time. I love these movies so much. Number 8 is not a movie, it is a concert, and it is Michael Jackson, The Dangerous Tour. I'm a massive fan of Michael Jackson's music. I grew up on it. I grew up watching this concert, so I know it really well, and I had just been like in the mood to be listening to his music, so I put the concert on instead of just putting on an album. And once again, I really enjoyed it. I love and I'm so grateful for concert films. I think they're a vital part of like our culture and pop culture and music culture in general, because how can you explain like the magnitude of, you know, Michael Jackson's star power? Like even in watching this tour or even the Wembley concert, like you can see how people are passing out and they're freaking out, and there's just like crowds of people everywhere, and it's so moving and it's so special and it feels just so otherworldly. But it's so important to have these moments captured, and so important to have them to look back on and to reference. I'm a big advocate for like live albums and like concert movies and stuff, because so much happens and it's one of those things where you don't want to lose that. It's a whole thing that plays on my mind. I'll do a video about it one day. The Dangerous Tour is fantastic. It also is covering like songs from all of his career from that point, from being in the Jackson 5 to the Dangerous album, which to me is an underrated album, if I may say so. I just really wanted that high energy vibe, and I watched it and I loved it. Again, seen it so many times. Number 9 is Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Past. So I have a really weird version of this. I bought it on eBay. It's a really hard movie to find for some reason, but I am a massive Kiss fan and I have a massive Kiss collection, and this needed to be part of it years ago. I've seen this movie a few times. It's a bit of fun. It's nothing serious. If you love Kiss, it's a movie you need to watch. It's got all 4 original members, which is my personal favorite lineup of the band. Is Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss. There's so many stories about behind the scenes in this movie, which I think is hilarious. I watched this movie firstly because it's October and I tend to put it on when I want to not think in October and part of this, Halloween rotation. But the other reason why was because Ace Frehley passed away. He was my favorite member of Kiss when I first I was a Kiss fan as a kid, but when I first fully got into Kiss, he was the member I was just drawn to the most. And I remember reading his book when I was 15, and I loved it, and I loved the solo album and all of his stuff. Anyway, the timing of it just worked out, and so I just rewatched it. And it's a fun movie pop culture wise. If you are intrigued by the idea of Kiss doing a movie in the late 1970s, and if you love theme parks, because it's set in a theme park and it's just a fun summer vibe movie that you should watch around Halloween. Back on the list for number 10. Number 10 was The Smashing Machine, which I saw in the cinema as well. So The Smashing Machine is directed by Benny Safdie, who is one of the co-directors of Uncut Gems, and Uncut Gems is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I was immediately in. And I'd heard a lot of buzz around the movie, and that's why I was intrigued by it. And then my friend's I want to see it, so we went and we saw it. I enjoyed the movie. Again, I thought it was one of those movies that's just visually stunning. I thought that Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt's performances were really good. And yeah, again, it's a sport movie, and it's pretty full on in terms of the sport. It's a biopic, and a really interesting watch to learn about his life and that sport and how terrifying it all is. Number 11 is Scary Movie 2. This is my favorite scary movie. Out of the two that I've seen. It's got so much in it that I quote all the time. Scary Movie 2, another horror comedy. It works really well. Tim Curry's in this one. There's a lot of the original cast from the first Scary Movie in it, and again, mocking horror movies in hilarious ways. It works just so well. The next two movies I watched as a double feature at the cinema. First one was Scooby-Doo from 2001, the live action movie. And the second one was Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed from 2004. I grew up with the Scooby-Doo movies. To me, I associate them with the evenings of a Friday or Saturday night, because that's when they'd be on TV, and that's where I'd watch it. I think I've seen the second one more. I've sat through that from beginning to end more than the first one. The other one I've seen mainly just in bits and pieces on TV as a kid, and just piecing it together through the years. But it was so fun to just sit and enjoy the movies in the cinema, and everyone loved it. There's a lot of adult jokes within it too. They're not kids movies in my opinion, and I don't think the TV show Scooby-Doo is really for kids as well. I think it's one of those things where it's just because it's animated doesn't mean it's just for children. I used to watch it as a kid, and I found the cartoon to be really scary at times, and you can watch the Scooby-Doo cartoon at any age and just enjoy it. But I feel that way about a lot of older cartoons as well. So the 14th and final movie that I watched this month was The Craft, 1996. So The Craft is a movie I've seen over and over and over again. I think it is so cool. It's so fun. It's got that 90s grungy vibe. The use of How Soon Is It Now in the movie is so cool. Again, it's a girl group movie about witches who all go to school together, and they're using their powers, and it gets messy, as it does. If you want to watch a 90s witchy movie that has a great soundtrack and looks so cool, and you need to watch it. It's always in my Halloween movie rotation. So those are all the movies that I watched in the month of October. In November, I'm really determined with whatever time I have to watch as much as possible. I have a never-ending list of movies that I want to watch, and I'm gonna really try to make my way through it. I've tried to make a list and everything. We'll see how we go, but I've got all the time in the world. It's all good. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.